Yes, welcome to the No State Project live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona, streaming live on my YouTube channel. Glad to be with here with everybody. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Episode 64 of the big broadcast, brought to you again today by Don, Dan, and of course Bill. Appreciate the support of the show, the Paisans. I got a lot of stuff to get to today, and I got to get it done prior to taking calls, because then I'll just run out of time, and I don't want to necessarily be accused of censoring people. I got a new, well, I don't think it's a new guy. I think it's a new critic. I think it's the same critic that we've had for a long time here, somebody who hangs on every single word, and we know that you do. Parroting the same lie. I've never had any success on the merits, ever. And it doesn't matter that the IRS said based on the material you provided, and I provide the material, which is a lack of evidence, speaking to the agents themselves. I even named one of them, Donaldson. No success whatsoever. So the success stories, never happened. And I didn't realize that I was a shock jock and that all I do is hurl insults at people who disagree with me. Well, I don't think I insulted much Juan Galt other than calling him a liar and that he wouldn't shut up. But you certainly can't, point to any insults with ICBM catcher and Wit from Gilbert. I didn't insult them. So I just invite people to come on the show instead of ranting and raving and copying and pasting the same arguments, the same fallacious arguments in the comments. Just join the show. Well, it seems like somebody has a sock puppet account, and so I want to get back to this. So what I'm going to spend a lot of time here on doing, because somebody spent some time doing the same stupid thing that we already discussed, and when I was discussing the expert witness thing, I didn't have the opportunity to read every single line of every single case that Misty provided. But it turns out I was right. She is working with Juan Galt to trick me, because that's what you do when you're honest, instead of just calling the show and having an adult conversation. And yes, Juan did call, but far from having an adult conversation. The man never shut up. I mean, he loves to hear himself talk, apparently, because that's what lawyers do. When you're trying to make your point, they interrupt you incessantly, and it just destroys your train of thought. That's why he did that. So this and anyone else, if you want to just do it in real time, give us a call on the broadcast. But here, I actually, instead of doing it in real time on a broadcast, I actually had an hour or so, and I did respond to every single point that he made. And this is from a YouTube comment. However, it's been on my website and on the forum before, and it's this time-worn, fallacious claim that you can't cross-examine a police officer on the stand. You can't ask him any questions regarding the legal conclusions or the legal determinations that he made at the stop. That when he says you violated the law, you cannot ask him questions on cross-examination. So what they do is they have what is really just a straw man, and I'll go through that. So I'm going to just bear with me, and I'll have it in the video that we get posted. Obviously, it's not going to be on the live stream. Let's get to this. I noticed you left out the part where the court in the Sidman's construction company refers to cases that establish no witness can make a legal conclusion like applicability. Only a judge can decide the applicability of the law, to wit, quote, in no instance can a witness be permitted to define the law of the case, end quote. And that's Spreck v. Jensen, 853, Federal Second, page 805, and that quote is on page 809. There are some other cases that he did. I've already explained the reason why I may have left something out wasn't because I was cherry picking. I was doing a live broadcast and trying to respond in real time. So you got to excuse me, I didn't get a chance to read every single line. If you want to fault me for that, bafungo, I really don't care. It's not really relevant. It's not important. So let's go through this. First of all, you got to understand that it's irrefutably true that, and it's not up for reasonable debate, that the police officer, when he pulls you over, he's making legal determinations or legal claims. Okay, he's saying that, oh, I see Mark. He's physically in Arizona. That means the Constitution and laws apply. That gives me jurisdiction to do a stop and gives me probable cause that he could be violating these laws that I just determined actually apply to him. These are legal determinations. These are not statements of fact. Okay? Or if you don't like the word conclusion because your mind is, only judges can do legal conclusion, only judges. Fine, play your word game. We'll call it a legal allegation or a legal claim. Whatever. We're not going to parse every single friggin' word. Well, those, words of art, they do have meanings. So when you do say it's not a legal conclusion, all you're trying to do is just avoid the fact that the cop is making legal determinations and changing the course of your life. He's using these against you, as will the prosecutor, and the judge will use those legal conclusions against you. Okay? Whether you call them conclusions or allegations, they're still statements about the law. They're not statements of fact only. It's a mixed statement of fact and law. Legal claim. Okay. So to say that they can make these legal claims that they're going to use against you and then turn around and say that they're immune and that you can't cross-examine them, no, that's wrong. If it's being used against you, you have to be able to challenge it. And another thing, too, is we're not just looking at the jurisdiction of the court. We're looking at the jurisdiction of the police to give you the ticket, to the basis of his probable cause, to give you the ticket. So you've got the court's personal jurisdiction over you, and you have the police. So the policeman, the cop, is making this legal determination against you. I have jurisdiction. I can now use the force continuum. These are not statement of fact, like I said, not a statement of fact. This led to the arrest, it led to your incarceration, and it led to the trial. Relevant every step of the way. Because he's writing a complaint and he's certifying, I hereby certify upon reasonable grounds that the person named above committed the named act. The act is not that I punched somebody in the face. I violated the code. Or I didn't have a driver's license. And I violated Title 28 of the Arizona Revised Statutes. He's saying the code applies. He's saying that I violated it. Okay? Now, allegations, whether they're legal or not, have to be supported by facts. So what it boils down to, and we're going to come back to this, the whole trial is to determine whether the cop was full of crap or not, right? I mean, that's as simple as you can make it. And how we determine that is through cross-examination to determine if the prosecutor really was, whether the cop was full of crap or not. Okay, so, like I write here in the article, which will come with the video, allegations must be supported by facts, otherwise they're arbitrary, false, and mere speculations, and that does not rise to beyond a reasonable doubt or even prima facie. See, prima facie do the facts, accepted as true, have even the slightest possibility of proving the proposition. Here is my physical location, have even the slightest chance of proving that the Constitution, a written instrument, applies to me? No, it's impossible. Might doesn't make right. Well, unless you're a psycho. So then he says, so not only a witness, but even an expert witness can't be permitted to answer a question that requires a legal conclusion as an answer. Now pay attention to this. If an expert witness can't make a legal conclusion as an answer, why could a lay witness? Where's your cases that say a lay witness can make a legal conclusion? Where's anything that says that? Well, first of all, they can make a legal claim and they can make a legal opinion and restate their testimony. I'm not saying that they have to. You're the guys are the ones who are so hung up on this narrow definition of conclusion. I don't care what you call it. It's a statement. And we'll keep it general that way. So I don't have to offend or trigger some keyboard warrior here. Oh, he said conclusion. That's only for judges. Cops are law enforcement. They're enforcing the law. They're making legal determinations on the law. So, okay, so cops do make these statements all the time. They make them every day, every time they give a ticket. And to go to court, they are testifying or reaffirming their prior statements, their prior legal claims. I saw Mark, and I had probable cause to stop. That is a legal determination. Okay, so what prosecutors do, they're the ones. See, if you're going to vent some anger and disgust and disdain at people who are asking witnesses to provide legal conclusions, you should be talking to prosecutors who do it every day. Did you witness the accused violate the law? They do it all the time. And like I write in the article, IRS agents are very fond of just calling someone a resident. That's not a statement of fact. That is a legal conclusion or a legal determination. It is a legal opinion. It is not a statement of fact. It's based on the law. But they do it every time. So if you're going to say and falsely accuse me of this, at least go after the guys who actually are violating the rule and are being allowed to get away with it. And that's the prosecutors who are asking, and the U.S. attorneys that are asking questions that to elicit a legal opinion. Because yes, even the opinion testimony can be prohibited. Now getting to why this is a straw man in the first place, okay? Because this is a deliberate misstating of my position. You guys keep insisting that I'm trying to elicit a legal conclusion or a legal opinion from the police officer when I ask the question. And I'm going to get to the question in just a second. But we got to show how we set this up. Remember, prior statements are always fair game on a cross-examination. And to say otherwise, you're lying through your teeth. You got to understand the purpose of the cross-examination. How did they come to this determination? Those are really important. How did you determine probable cause? I'm not asking him to define the law of the case like he's claiming here. And this is the thing. At no point during these questions, you'll notice I am not asking a question that is trying to elicit a legal conclusion as an answer. So, and this is what we call a straw man. You just lie saying that I am asking a question that requires a legal conclusion. And this is what I've mentioned on the show before. We went through this with an appeal here in Chandler, Arizona. They just lied about the actual question to justify the objection. And that's what Max Stevens or Juan Galt or whoever this guy is, that's all they're doing. They're lying. They are lying. So what I do is set it up. The initial question, I'm just asking the cop to affirm his prior statements. Remember, when he makes the stop, he's making legal determinations. He's making legal claims that he has authority, a jurisdiction to require you to give them a driver's license. These are not statement of facts. How many times you got to say it? So I ask him, again, to merely affirm his prior statement. Yes or no, because that's the beauty of a leading question. You see where we're going with this? If I'm asking yes or no, I'm not trying to elicit a legal conclusion, am I? Did you determine that the laws applied to me, or just because you saw me physically in Arizona, that your laws applied and that gave you jurisdiction over me to conduct a stop and maybe have probable cause to investigate? That's yes or no. I'm not asking him to actually answer with a legal conclusion or a legal determination, even a legal claim. I want him merely to restate that is what happened at the stop. Now, there's never an objection to that question, just as there shouldn't be, because you're just restating prior statements. Oh, we're doing over there. So let's continue. The follow-up question is the one that triggers all these critics, okay, and causes something we've known for decades. This is what gets them out of their chair, because they're lying. And the question is, listen very carefully here. It's the same damn question we've been asking for I don't know how many years. What facts did you rely on to prove your Constitution applied to me and gave you jurisdiction over me to do a stop? What facts? So to claim, like these lawyers in court, for you to claim that that question asking for evidence a prior claim was based on at the traffic stop, to claim that that requires the cop to give a legal conclusion, or that I am asking a question that calls for a legal conclusion, is wrong. All he has to do is provide the facts. And if you damn critics think that, well, your physical location, that's all he have to do, then why? Pray tell. Why, when I asked the police officers for the facts that they used to determine that the laws applied at the stop, why don't they just say, because I saw you in Phoenix? Right? If that was all the evidence necessary, because, hey, that's the prima facie, right? If that's all they had to provide. If you're in Phoenix, the laws apply. End of discussion. Isn't that the claim against me? Why here lie, as the poster did, Max Stevens and Juan Galt and this Misty, okay, well, I don't know if Misty did. Why lie? Why not just let the cop say, either I saw you in Phoenix, or he can quote Bill Montgomery, the Maricopa County attorney, and Scott Bales from the Arizona Supreme Court, Chief Justice. So I asked the police officer, what facts did you rely on to prove your Constitution applied to me just because I'm physically in Phoenix? He could say, well, you're in Phoenix. And we've put a whole bunch of people in prison. If those are legitimate answers to that question, why lie saying objection calls for a legal conclusion? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The reason why they're lying is because my physical location doesn't prove their laws apply to me. It's not proof. They lie because they can't prove that their laws apply. They have no evidence. So, and I'll get to later, because this is conclusion of law. And I'm not going to read all this. It's down here. It's basically saying that only a judge can make legal conclusions. So it's completely irrelevant to me asking for the facts the cops' determinations were based on. Completely irrelevant. That's because you have to make a straw man to try to make it look like where I'm doing something. Oh, I'm a scammer. I'm a scammer. I'm a shock jock. Yeah. So you're just playing a word game. Even if I was asking him to restate his legal claims, it's not making a legal conclusion as if he's defining the law of the case. All it's talking about is what he based his actions on. That's it. Why did you stop me? Well, because I determined, because the laws apply and I believe that you were violating those rules. Well, to say that's not subject to cross-examination is just crazy. So whatever you call the cop statement, they're making these legal claims, and the idea that you can't ask questions based on that, which is something I've explained ad nauseum here on the show 1,000 times. It's not new. So then he continues, where does it say anywhere that someone other than a judge, like a witness, can make a legal conclusion? Check out the Federal Rules of Evidence, Rule 701, regarding lay testimony. Then read United States v. Figueroa, where law enforcement, relying on their experience, observations, and knowledge about crime, could be considered as expert testimony under Rule 702. Although these were drug cops, this would apply to traffic cops as well. So we're back to the cop is prohibited from making a legal conclusion regarding the applicability of the law as an expert on traffic law or a layman. That's the judge's province, period. I'm not, again, straw man. I'm not asking the cop to make a legal draw a legal conclusion on the stand, just to, again, affirm that he already made legal determinations against me, and I just want to know if he can verify that, and we do that by asking some questions and asking for the facts that they're based on. So that entire paragraph, as well as the rest of this trash, is inapplicable. Why the cop determined probable cause is a subject of cross-examination. I can't make it any simpler than that. So if the cop is making statements upon which the complaint is based, then the facts and how and why he made those determinations that led to the complaint, led to you being prosecuted, are relevant and necessary to be explored through leading questions in an effective cross-examination. And to say that the police officer, why he made his determinations of probable cause and came after you, why he went through the force continuum, to say something like that is to just say that the cop can make whatever claims he wants and he doesn't have to answer questions regarding it. That is a denial of due process, because it's a denial of a fair trial, because you're not effectively cross-examining your witness. So again, I only ask the cop to affirm what he's already said, the claims he's already made, and then I ask him for the facts they're based on. No legal conclusion necessary. Or is Juan Galt trying to trick me again? Nah. So by this logic, and I've got this linked in the article, when cops make legal claims against you at a traffic stop that are obviously false. So there was a recent a situation about a year or so ago where police officers, they were doing a stop on what turned out to be a lawyer, and they lied saying he would be arrested if he did not stop recording them. They were saying it was a brand new law. So given this twisted logic, and I don't even like saying logic, this legalistic gibberish, to say that by going by that, if this went to trial, you wouldn't be able to ask the police officer any questions on the false legal claims that he made, that he would arrest you if you didn't stop recording. It doesn't make, it's like, oh, you can't ask the cop any questions about the claims he made. You can't cross-examine a police officer on any claims that he makes during the stop. I mean, come on. Come on. If he's making a claim at the stop, it's fair game to ask him questions about that. It doesn't, not just because he may be lying, but I mean, it goes to competency, credibility. Imagine the cop that lied through his teeth that there was a new law that you couldn't record the police. And when you get to question him on cross-examination, there's objection, calls for legal conclusion. Yeah, I'm not buying that. That's just ridiculous. It's just crazy. So if anyone suggests that cops and other government agents don't routinely give legal opinions and claims on the stand, they're either lying or they're ignorant of the process. And as long as that legal opinion supports the prosecution, then cross-examination on how they came to those determinations and why they made those determinations is part of a cross-examination. And to not allow cross-examination is really, look, it's unfair. It's unfair. It's just that what they don't like is that we're probing the applicability of the law that the cop made the determination on. They don't like that being questioned. They want it to be within the province of the judge, so it's irrefutable, and of course you're denied a fair trial. So, of course, the judge in a court setting has the ultimate determination on whether the cop is right. So that goes, we're full circle. Is the cop full of crap that the laws apply to me and that I violated them? That's ultimately up to the judge. And the thing is, the judge has to make that determination based on evidence that the prosecution presents, and it's usually through the police officer. What does the police officer have to present to prove that, though? He saw me in Phoenix. That doesn't prove the laws apply to me. Again, because the objection is completely off point, because I'm not asking a question that requires an answer in the form of a legal conclusion, because it's an off-point objection, and I'm asking for the facts his opinion was based on, or his claim, and it doesn't require him to give a legal conclusion, the objection should not even be entertained, because, in fact, if I make an objection that's so off-point and frivolous, I could get sanctioned. But here, the judge, without even allowing you to explain, I didn't ask for a question that required a legal opinion. I asked for the facts his opinion was based on. It's not the same thing. But the judges are there, and they always deny your objection because guess what? You made it. I made it, not the prosecutor. So because the prosecutor is doing it, objection sustained. No discussion. You can't even point it. You don't even get a chance to point it out. So what I ask critics who continue to insist, if you're going to persist and try to trick people with your straw man, address the actual question. What facts did you rely on to prove that your Constitution and Code apply to me and gave you jurisdiction? Okay. What legal conclusion do you think that question is trying to elicit from the police officer? I'm not trying to get him to restate that the laws do apply to me. It is prior testimony. And if he wasn't qualified to say that or he's prohibited, he shouldn't be saying it. So what particular legal conclusion do you think I'm trying to elicit from the cop when I ask for the facts? What do you think I'm asking for? See, this is no different than doing that scumbag move of saying, well, it's really not a question, Mark, it's an argument. Or you're arguing philosophy. Come on. He made a claim. He affirmed it on cross-examination. What facts is that claim based on? It's that simple. And again, I am not asking for a legal conclusion. And if you think that that's what I'm after, tell me what legal conclusion you think. Now, again, to be fair, the judge has to base his determinations on what the prosecution has presented, and they got nothing. They got nothing, just a lot of talk and a badge. But allowing a cop to make such legal claims, file a complaint, and not have to be cross-examined on those statements is just unfair. The poster should have written that in court, only in a court trial, only the judge can ultimately decide if the cop's claims are true, legal claims are true. But they have to be supported by facts, and they have and go through a trial with an effective cross-examination to be able to determine that they were accurate. This includes the cop's legal claim that the Constitution and laws apply and give them jurisdiction. You know, as again, the poster's comment is just a straw man. Asking for evidence that to support your claim is not asking for a legal conclusion. So, you know, that's that. And if you disagree with my analysis there, call the show. Don't just rant, you know, for, 2,000 words on the comment section. Call the show and let's hash it out in real time. The only rules I have is don't have diarrhea of the mouth, no gish gallops, and you can't do like what Juan Galt did. You can't just interrupt every sentence that I have. You have to allow, for a conversation. But lying that I'm a shock jock, yeah, right. Good luck with that. Yeah, good luck proving that. So what I'm going to do is, and I will get this up in markstevens.net and here on my my YouTube channel, No State Project, and I'll have all the graphics so that you can follow. And I did screen cap the entire comment so that you can see that I went through. And so if it's deleted, then you can see the whole thing. And here's another clue: I don't delete comments unless there are racist statements or threats and stuff. I almost never delete comments. So if your comment doesn't show up, this happened to me too. All you have to do is go, hit sort by and go by newest, and then you get it, because I was falsely accused of blocking or deleting comments. Not true. Not true at all. So, all right, let's see what we can do. I think we got so many. We've got. Let's see. Make sure we're not. We've got Ron in Vegas. Ron, welcome back to the big show. Ron, yeah, Ron, you're live on the broadcast. What do you got for us today?
I got 2 success stories. I'm gonna send you the certified copies. But I was calling you to tell you about this hearing I had today for the appeal I put in. I had the appeal hearing today, and the other side didn't even show up to the argument.
So you had an appeal and you had oral argument on a traffic appeal?
Yes.
Wow. That's extremely rare, my friend.
Yeah, I'm out in Las Vegas. And because I had put the appeal in, I got the appeal template from you. I put that in, and then he rebutted it, and he was just reciting a bunch of NRS codes and saying that the fact that I showed up, I gave myself jurisdiction, gave my jurisdiction up. He actually says that in the report.
So, wait, repeat that gibberish for me.
He says that the fact that I showed up gives up my jurisdiction, because I showed up and made myself available. I forget the word that you used, but the fact that I showed up.
Wow. Give me a second to discuss. I like to see that in writing so that I can do a video on the tyranny spotlight with that. The idea that jurisdiction is acquired, that you waive personal jurisdiction or give the court jurisdiction because you show up, flies in the face of the fact that they can hit you with a failure to appear and a warrant for your arrest if you don't. So what the prosecutor is really saying here, if we try to follow this gibberish, this logic, if you can call it logic, is that the court cannot acquire jurisdiction until you voluntarily come in. So I love to call and ask her, so if the judge issues a warrant, there's actually no jurisdiction for the warrant because you just never show up. So you can defeat every single traffic case just by never showing up because the court never acquires jurisdiction. Oh, and I'm called a scammer. See, and that's the thing. Critics, Ron, will just salivate, and they won't be able to take their lips off the ass of these prosecutors and judges who spew this crap, and yet they'll say that I'm the scammer. Wow,
No, you're the truth. You're the truth for sure.
That is some hardcore stupidity. That prosecutor went full retard there, and I'm sure that even other prosecutors would say, never go full retard. Say gibberish.
Show up. And I was like, well, damn. And I stayed in there too. My hearing was at 10. They didn't call me till 12:30. And he didn't even show up. I was in there just waiting, listening to the district attorney, the district judge go through the other cases. So I'm just sitting there waiting. He doesn't even show up. So the judge just tells me, do you want to say anything? I told him, no, I'm going to stick to the paperwork. He says, all right, he'll send me his decision in the mail.
Ah, dude, Ron, what are you doing to me? I'm glad we'll talk about the 2 success stories, but whenever they do that, I've said this, you don't want to just stand on the paperwork. You want to actually inquire about the record as it stands. You could have asked questions, sir, is it really a valid legal principle that if I never showed up, the trial court would never acquire jurisdiction? And the judge could have said, well, the prosecutor went full retard. We've told them about that before. You can engage them as much as they'll allow as far as questioning whether the record shows evidence to overcome your arguments and your position. But
okay, so I should have said something.
We'll see. Okay. But yes, and that's for you or for anybody else. Put them on the spot and see what's in the record. You're not asking for legal conclusion. You're not asking the judge for legal advice if you're just asking if the record sets forth evidence overcoming your motion or your appeal. Has the prosecution met their burden? That's not asking for legal advice. I know there's a lawyer who claims that is, but that's, if you're equivocating, using the word advice to mean whatever the hell you want. So, but what happened with the 2 success stories that we're just hearing about?
I got one was they pulled me over for so I didn't have registration, but once they seen I had registration on the front window, the temporary sticker, then he gave me a ticket for a cracked windshield. I took that to trial, hit him with all the paperwork. We get to the trial date and they dismissed. He says, oh, I couldn't serve the witness, so we asked to have it dismissed with prejudice with 1 year to serve the witness or whatever. So then that was that case. And then another case was a trespassing. They tried to hit me with trespassing. Then when I hit him with all the paperwork and all that, we get to the day of the trial, and they decided not to go any further and dismiss that one as well.
Did they give you a reason why?
No, I never asked a reason. I just say, okay, and I get up out of there.
Well, I understand. And so, I just want to answer and congratulations. I can't wait to see that. To address this thing about, because it's an unknown. We know that what we do know is that they dismissed the day of the trial and that they're saying that they did not subpoena the witness. I mean, come on. People will say it still had nothing to do with the paperwork. It was just they were busy, whatever. It had nothing to do with the paperwork. I would put out there that even what the prosecutor said, we know that it's part of American law. It's been enshrined in appellate rulings that prosecutorial misconduct is at epidemic levels. Not even taking into account that government by its nature is criminal, okay? Even excluding that. Just looking at how dishonest prosecutors are, that federal judges like Kaczynski, who allows prosecutorial misconduct if it's the IRS and the proper federal agency. But to say it's at epidemic levels, what does that tell us about the credibility of these prosecutors? I believe that given that, it was a presumption that they're lying. So whatever they would have said, I wouldn't believe it. I believe that we hit them. Look, Ron, what are they going to do when you say that they don't have evidence their laws apply? What are they going to say? Are they going to say, we have a prison system? Are they going to say might equals right? Are they actually going to use the same arguments the critics use? Are they going to say, we put other people in prison? No. We know they don't have the evidence, so they conveniently, the witness didn't show. We didn't subpoena them. Oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe it for a second. But this is the difference between me and the critics is that I will look at the actual evidence, the circumstantial as well as the direct if we have it. And I will allow for other explanations. And I'll say this every show if I have to, especially because we've got new people listening all the time. Anytime somebody says there's only one explanation for something, especially when there's only circumstantial evidence, they are not being honest with you. And that is whether I do it or somebody else does it. I always allow, yeah, you got 2 success stories. That's great. We still have to allow that it's plausible that what the prosecutor said was true and that they may have just been so heavily burdened with all those 95% plea deals there. Only 4 or 5% of any complaint goes to trial. They were so overburdened. We couldn't do some maintenance in the car. But we allowed a possibility, right, Ron? So congratulations. It's great. I believe the evidence shows the circumstantial evidence is pretty damn strong. Hey, it was easier it was easier to do that. And I'm a fungal to any critic who wants to say there's one explanation and only one explanation. You're not being logical, you're not being rational, and most of all, you're not being honest. And anybody with half a brain cell who hasn't gone full retard like this prosecutor in Vegas, it will understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, yeah. When you get the chance, get me a copy of the dismissals because I'd like to get that posted.
Yeah, but I got them certified just for the critics too. Cool. Paid the $3 and got them certified copies just for that. So I'm gonna get a chance. I'm gonna scan them and send them to you because last time, this isn't my first success story with you. So last time I sent them with my cell phone, a picture of them through my cell phone, and just sent that picture to your email. So if you want, I can scan them in the email, or I can send another picture with my cell phone. It doesn't matter.
Well, as long as it's legible and I'll if you want, you let me know if you need that to be, if your last name and address and everything, it should be redacted. At least, I know some people will look up the case number, but that's up to you. If you want that redacted, you let me know.
The address is fine. I don't care about the name, but the address, yeah, you can redact the address.
Will do. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Congratulations. So
thank you. Appreciate you for everything you do, Mark. You're just making people think again, and that's what we don't do. Think. They just got us in a state where we just take what they take us, like you say, accept the sacred cow, and I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll throw this out too. I'm really glad you say to think again, because it's actually making lawyers and some of the critics think, because they're trying to come up with ways to trick me, and they keep trying to think of ways to try to make it look like I'm a scammer. And so, hey, more people are thinking that's great. It sucks that they want to keep painting me as a scammer, and they'll turn around and they'll say that your success had nothing to do with your defense. And they'll have not a shred of evidence to support that. But in law, we use inductive reasoning. Really? Inductive reasoning only? Really? So the entirety of a trial is so that the jury or the judge, if it's a bench trial, so that the judge can make a decision based on deductive reasoning. But I appreciate that, and I'm glad that people are thinking again. And if we can get more, and the more people we have challenging these sacred cows, the better, because even the critics will, eventually have to, drop this crap that might equals right, that written instruments can magically apply because you force people to pay you. That's quite something. So.
Yeah. Well, the only explanation I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any other questions?
No, you've been very helpful. Hopefully this appeal goes good. I have another appeal. I just got the transcripts. I'm working on that one. I'm about to get turned in. It's another traffic case, and hopefully I got 2 success stories on those appeals when we get them back.
Well, yeah, that would be great. We've had success with appeals before. Of course, there was the disaster with Gadsden that the judge reversed everything. But for the most part, we've done fairly well with appeals. Well, good luck with that. And if there's something I can do, if you have any other questions, definitely call the show again.
Yeah, I definitely will. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, not a problem. Congratulations. you know, this is a common thread. You got to be used to it by now. Just like we have the tech issues, we're going to have critics that will ignore the evidence. That's why on the back of Adventures of Legal Land, I have what I have. It's not just judges. It's all these apologists for a group of men and women that force us to pay them. To say, whether the law applies is strictly a matter of law. According to who? The criminal organization that is forcing everyone to pay us? See, the thing is, you have to look at this with a critical mind, not one that is just conditioned to accept the crap that's given to you. Like, whoa, you can't challenge the applicability of the law. That's a matter of law. Isn't that circular? Oh, no wonder you're arguing, well, you can't take basic principles of logic into the courtroom. Really? So the burden of proof being on the accuser isn't basic logic now. You see the inconsistencies? Nothing but inconsistencies. That's why you have to lie and say, objection calls for a legal conclusion. I asked him for the facts his opinion was based on. Doesn't matter. Okay, you didn't, it wasn't a question asking for facts. You're arguing. I asked for facts. It's not argumentative. And it's certainly not an argument. This is what you got to go through when you're trying to justify a grossly immoral and unethical organization. And I don't want new people thinking that when we go in that we're actually making a direct moral argument when we go into court. No, you don't have to. You see, all of this rests on a serious, irrefutable contradiction. I love this. Someone said that I should write down my theories instead of just ranting. This is actually a comment today. I'm going to have to put this in the video. I should write down my theories. I have a whole book called Government Indicted. I have articles. I have written plenty. Gosh. So, but that's what triggered, because I was thinking back in Adventures in Legal Land, I point out there's a contradiction. And see, what we do is we go in and we are exploiting that contradiction. And that is why they can't, and because of that contradiction, that is why the whole house of cards falls down, and they have to rely on shills on my YouTube channel and my website to try to make people think that they're scholars and that they're right and that I'm a scammer. The contradiction is this. They say that they are protecting life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or life, liberty, and property. In fact, even though it's probably considered dicta, the august John Marshall of the United States Supreme Court actually said that the citizenship is a contractual relationship. It's contractual, because otherwise it's just plain extortion. So they say that they're just protecting life, liberty, and property. That's the end. What's the means? The means are a prison system and using force, using aggression, using a force continuum. So the means conflicts with the end, okay? And even one of my most incessant critics I know he agrees to that. And the whole house of cards falls. I don't have to mention it's immoral. I don't have to mention it's unethical. I just have to point out that their claims are false. They have no evidence. Now, that's where they come in and say, but the application of the law requires no evidence. According to you and those who profit from the system. That which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So that may be sufficient for you who have no moral ground. I'm exposing a criminal enterprise. I'm exposing them as the immoral criminals that they are. And that is why when I confront them and ask them for evidence to jurisdiction, even a lawyer like Colby Granville, we have jurisdiction because we said so. And to say that whether the law applies is just a matter of law and requires no evidence is so disingenuous. It's so dishonest. The Constitution is not a matter of philosophy. It is a written instrument. I'll put that up in the... in fact, even the Supreme Court has restated the truth. It is a written instrument. And whether a written instrument applies to me or anyone else and creates an obligation requires evidence. So beware of these people who say it requires no evidence, because it does. Honest people who aren't criminals use evidence to support their claims. Well, our laws apply because the laws say so. Oh, so that's a circular argument. So it's magical. And it boils down to it's because it's just like the guy in the ASU Law School, Scott Bales, the Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court. Their laws don't apply to us because it's the law. Their laws apply to us because they're willing to kill us in order to get compliance. And when critics come on, that's what they're saying. The law applies as a matter of law. What does that mean? How did this written instrument become applicable? It's a matter of law. What does that mean? Also, what you're doing is you're presuming that your argument is already true. If you're going to go to the law itself to prove it's applicable, that's circular. You're beginning and ending with the same damn thing. The laws apply because the laws say so. The laws apply because the laws say so. The laws apply because the laws say so. If you don't recognize, I could use my shirt. The laws apply. It was good that I just noticed that. Yeah, what wonderful magic indeed. Yes. Oh, to be so lucky. So, when these critics say we've had no success on the merits, they're dead wrong. We have the Wisconsin case where the motion was granted. And you can argue, even plausibly, it was because the judge was pissed off. The fact is you have no evidence to support that. It may happen in the past, but there's no evidence to support it. So to turn around and say that the Wisconsin motion wasn't granted because the motion had merit, you have to ignore the evidence. And so be wary of those who are ignoring the evidence or say no evidence is required. I am not going to apologize for taking a stand and exposing these people for the criminals that they are. And here's a little bit more proof. And it's been proving very difficult as usual to get these bureaucrats on the phone. When I asked them straight out, if I was to do things like your organization and I forced strangers to give me money, would you consider me a criminal? They don't answer the question. Why? Because they're criminals. And of course the criminal is going to say, well, my rules are special. They apply to everyone. In fact, these lunatics called the United States government, they go way beyond any other government. They believe that their laws apply regardless of physical location and regardless of whether you're a citizen or resident and have ever set foot in the United States again. Where's their evidence that it applies? Do you think for a second the United States government would allow the Chinese government to get away with that same crap? It's an incident of sovereignty. The laws apply all over the world. Because they said so. This is their argument. And I say, if your argument is they apply because they say so, you are dishonest. And it may be considered a valid argument to lawyers. Doesn't mean it's a valid argument. Yes, I will readily concede lawyers disagree with me. Are you here to state the obvious, guys? I know. We are exposing these criminals for the criminals that they are. It is wrong to use aggression. It is wrong to force strangers to give you money. Even if you are presumably going to do something to benefit your victim, you're still committing a crime, even in the lay sense as I'm using it. That's why Spooner wrote any group of criminals could just call themselves a government and then legalize all their... Of course. So what we're doing is about bringing about a voluntary society by exposing immorality and unethical and criminal behavior. So yes, their laws apply because they say so. Yeah, This isn't some groundbreaking revelation I've never heard before. I don't accept it because it is illogical. And for you or anyone, any critic to try to convince people of that is just evidence of of how much dishonest and illogical you are. That is not acceptable. And we will object and fight every step of the way because it's not acceptable. Does it mean we're going to get everything tossed out? No, of course not. I never claimed to get everything tossed out. Got an awful lot, though. We've had success replicated on 3 continents, including Israel. And they just want to say, ignore all that. And that's another sign of dishonesty. I can at least, as far as I believe him, say that Juan Galt is a successful attorney and recognize that. I don't believe that he actually is who he says he is, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, he's had success because he said so. But they can't even allow that with the mountain of success that we've had and 2 more that reported on the show. They just, with the wave, none of it matters. All right. Hopefully people, especially if you're new, if you're seeing things like this, you see the actual documents, you realize that there's a serious track record, and not every single one of these tickets being tossed out can be explained with just the cop didn't show up. Really, use some critical analysis and thought here. And this is what's missing. You have to understand that when you get that traffic ticket, we're showing that the system itself is unfair. They can't give you a fair trial. The only fair thing they can do is toss it out immediately and not give the cop or the prosecutor the time of day. Don't allow them to argue without evidence. And I've did a whole video about this already. And I'll do it again, just so someone doesn't accuse, well, they're going to accuse me anyway. A pure issue of law is also what you call a theoretical issue of law. And then you have practical issues of law. And I did a whole video about this. A theoretical issue of law is just, what does the law say? What does it require? So a theoretical issue of law is prosecutorial misconduct, is arguing without evidence and withholding exculpatory evidence. That's what it says. That's what it is. Now, whether a prosecutor is guilty of prosecutorial misconduct, that's a practical application. There has to be evidence. Now, they want to give a free pass, though, that you can't argue whether the law applies or not. It applies because it just does. Then that was actually a statement that was made. When you say it applies because it says so, that's really your argument. It just does. So I did have a lawyer with the legal department say that to me, Andy Mora. Now, I doubt he would say that in court. We may find out. So we'll see. We'll see. Now, it's something you ask, why aren't these incredible legal analysis of jurisdiction and whether a cop can testify? How come they're not actually being used in court other than the one objection calls for a legal conclusion, which is a complete lie? They're not going in and saying, well, we put other people in prison. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That's why if someone does call the show, what they have to do is, if you're going to argue that the system is valid and that what they're saying is accurate and has merit, you have to show that they are a moral, ethical organization. And I mean in the manner in which they're supposed to operate. The ends conflict with the means. You see, again? You have to show that. And if you're saying that I'm scamming people, you have to show some evidence of that. They'll never do that. They want to just keep bringing up a case where somebody lost. You know what? People lose every day. And just like what happened with Ron. He lost. Mark Stevens is a scammer. Ron lost at the trial court. No merit. Scammer, scammer, scammer. Got reversed on appeal. Well, it had nothing to do with Mark. Can you see how this is like a comedy routine? It had no merit. That's why the judge at the trial court found him guilty. He went up on appeal. It still had no merit. I can't keep track of this. If you're a critic to the show, call. Let me put you on the spot in real time, just like I do with all these bureaucrats. Stop making the excuses. Eventually, Juan gave up on the excuses and he came on the show. Didn't shut up for a second and interrupted every thought I had. But at least he came on the show. So if you want to, give us a call. Glad we had the call that we had today because we had some success, and we'll keep up with Ron and see what happens with this other with these other cases that he's got going on with. But as usual, if you think these written instruments called constitutions, if you think that they apply to people and you're not claiming that they're magic, bring a rational, logical, coherent argument with evidence to support that this written instrument applies. I'd love to hear it. But if you're going to just say it applies because it's a matter of law, that has no substance to it. You're not answering the question. Well, it's a matter of international law that the laws don't apply to me. I don't have to explain it. It's international law. I am res nullius, the property of nobody. I am stateless. The laws don't apply to me at all. International law. You're going to buy that? It's a matter of international law. It doesn't apply because it doesn't apply. So, again, if you have the evidence, give us a call. I love to hear it. Again, this has been episode 64 of the No State Project live from the fortified compound here in Mesa, Arizona. I will be live and streaming again in California on the Saturday broadcast, the LRN broadcast. So if you weren't able to make the show today, definitely give us a call there. If you're being attacked by a bureaucrat, you want a proven method of being able to limit the damage, in some cases, get all tickets, in most cases get tickets thrown out, well, quite a few, more than 50%, then give us a call on the side, on any one of the live broadcasts. We'll walk you through the Socratic method and actually using your brain to critically analyze the prosecution's case and show where they have no actual evidence, and then discussing leading questions, just asking questions. What facts did your claim that made you do the traffic stop? What facts did you rely on to support that claim at the traffic stop? Not asking for a legal conclusion, but I'm glad, hopefully, I could just reference back to this show, and I don't have to keep repeating that, the way I did here on the show today. Again, I'm sorry, it's episode 64 of the No State Project live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona, on my YouTube channel, No State Project. Till next time, everybody. Salud.